He walked in covered in dust. A dusty black man with a sack of money. They pointed, laughed, mocked. They thought he was lost. But behind those tired eyes was a story of pride, pain, and quiet power. Keep watching, because what happens next will restore your faith in dignity and justice. Metro Airfield's luxury wing glittered with money. Polished floors, polished people, and one black man who didn't flinch when every eye turned. Elias paused in the doorway. Sunlight caught the frayed edge of his sleeve. Dust traced the hem of his denim jeans. He stood still, as if daring the room to blink first. No one spoke, but they didn't have to. A chuckle from the espresso bar. A sideways glance from a woman in cream heels. A raised brow from a man holding keys to a $6 million jet. And then, "He lost?" someone whispered, probably looking for ground transport or the employee entrance. He walked past them like he didn't hear it, but he heard it. Every syllable scraped along the inside of his ribs. The jet was sleek, white, silent. It looked like freedom. He moved closer, laid one hand on its wing like he was meeting an old friend, felt the coolness of metal against calloused fingers, closed his eyes for half a second. He had dreamed of this for 20 years. Every sunrise on the ranch, every harvest, every backbreaking contract no one thought he could deliver. This was his, until someone cleared their throat behind him. The man had teeth too perfect for kindness, a name tag that said Carter, and a laugh that didn't quite make it out of his throat. "Sir," he said, drawing out the word like gum stuck to his shoe. "You lost." Elias turned, didn't smile, didn't blink. "I'm not." Carter looked him up and down. "Boots, shirt, skin. This is a showroom," he said. "Private aviation." "I know." Carter tilted his head. "I see. Well," he stepped closer, lowered his voice. "You may want to check with ground services. Or the cafe." Elias didn't move, didn't step back. "I came to look at the Falcon 8X. Carter's eyebrows jumped. "Oh." Now it was amusement. "That's a $40 million aircraft." Across the room, someone laughed too loudly. A man in a navy jacket turned just enough to watch. A woman near the brochures leaned into her friend. Elias didn't move. Carter folded his arms. "Sir," he said again, this time with less patience. "These jets aren't for photography. They're for purchase." "I know," Elias said. Then silence. Long and full. There was a pause. The kind that happens when people realize the script isn't going how they rehearsed it. Carter shifted, glanced toward the reception desk. "Do you have an appointment?" "No." Another beat. "Do you have a broker?" "No." A sigh. "Well then, perhaps you'd like a brochure. We're quite busy today." "I'm not here to take home a brochure." A woman in stilettos walked by slowly. Her perfume stayed after she left. So did her smirk. Behind the desk, a younger staffer whispered something to a colleague. They both looked at him, looked away when he met their eyes. Carter's jaw tightened. "Well, we usually work with clients by referral. People who understand the product." "I understand enough." Carter smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Sir, with respect, these aircraft aren't available for first-time flyers." Elias looked at him, then past him, to the plane, to the sky through the showroom window. "I've flown before." The next comment didn't come from Carter. Came from behind. Another voice, sharp, loud, too casual to be accidental. "Maybe he's here to clean it." Laughter, soft at first, then louder, like a schoolyard joke that grew legs. Carter didn't laugh, but he didn't stop it. Elias stood still, hands still on the wing, as if anchoring himself to something bigger than the room. He didn't argue, didn't raise his voice, didn't ask for respect. He just turned, nodded once, and walked toward the exit. But the silence followed him. It always did, until a voice behind him, deeper, warm, familiar. "Eli." He turned, and there, in a tailored charcoal suit, polished shoes, and a jaw clenched too tight to be calm, stood Jordan Hayes. not just a lawyer. A storm in waiting. Jordan crossed the showroom in 3 long strides. "I saw what happened," he said, loud enough for Carter to hear. Elias didn't speak. Jordan did. "What did they say to you?" Elias looked at him. "They said enough." Jordan scanned the room. Eyes sharp, calculating. He'd grown up 2 farms down from Elias. Watched him build his ranch with bare hands and borrowed time. Watched the banks say no. Watched him rise anyway. "You ready to go?" Jordan asked. Elias glanced back at the jet. "I'll be back." And in that pause, the story shifted. The parking lot was quieter than the showroom, but the tension followed them out like fog. It clung to his boots, to his breath, to the silence between them. Jordan leaned against the truck. The suit looked too clean for it. He didn't care. "You okay?" Elias didn't answer, just looked down at his hands. Still dusty, still steady. "I shouldn't have to explain myself to buy what I've earned." Jordan nodded. "I know." The truck door creaked. He didn't climb in. Instead, he stared back at the glass showroom. His reflection was faint, but it was there. Dirt, denim calluses, everything they used to measure his worth. He saw something else. Survival. Jordan tapped his phone. "Let me make a few calls." Elias didn't stop him. Didn't need to ask who. Didn't need to say why. Some fights didn't need permission. Just memory and fire. Inside, Carter stood stiff at the counter. His smile was gone. He watched them through the glass. Watched the one man he thought he'd dismissed, and the other he didn't expect. Someone asked if he was okay. He didn't answer. He knew what was coming. 3 hours later, a call came through the showroom line. It wasn't a question. It was a notice. A legal inquiry. Formal. Direct. Regarding suspected discriminatory conduct on commercial property. The receptionist froze. Her hand hovered over the hold button. Carter's face turned the color of dry ash. Jordan didn't stop there. He didn't yell. He didn't tweet. He filed. He documented. He gathered. Footage. Witness names. A copy of the customer registry that showed Elias had been there. Logged. Ignored. He sent it all in silence, like a storm front waiting to break. Elias didn't watch the news, but he saw the ripple. Calls came in. Some quiet support. Some loud apologies wrapped in excuses. "We didn't realize. We weren't aware. That's not who we are." He said nothing. He just walked his land, fed his animals, watered the trees he planted with his father. Stillness was his protest, and his power. 2 days later, a clip surfaced. Low resolution, muted color, but the words were clear. "Probably here to clean it. Go back to the farm." Carter's voice. Undeniable. Laughter. Unmistakable. It had been recorded by a new hire. A woman who didn't laugh, didn't smirk, just hit record, and saved it. The clip went viral. Not on news first, on phones, on group chats, on screens in rooms Carter could no longer control. By noon, the showroom issued a statement. By evening, it was too late. They weren't managing optics anymore. They were managing collapse. Elias stood on his porch, watching the sun fall behind the hills. The wind tugged at his shirt. The dirt smelled like rain. He didn't smile, but his eyes held something steady. Justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes, it just keeps walking back in. The courtroom smelled like old wood and new tension. A place built for voices, but steeped in silence. Elias sat still, denim replaced by a clean dark suit, boots polished but not hidden. He didn't come to blend in. He came to be seen. The judge entered. No words yet, just the weight of the gavel waiting in her hand. Across the aisle, Carter didn't meet his eyes. Neither did the executive beside him, a man in a watch worth more than Elias's truck. They whispered, tight-lipped, panicked. They dressed for authority, but not for truth. Jordan stood tall. No theatrics, no raised voice, just fact. This is about dignity, not drama. He let the words hang. Not pity, not profit, just justice. And then, he pressed play. The audio cracked, then cleared. Probably here to clean it. Go back to the farm. A woman laughed. A man scoffed. Then silence. Not from the clip, from the courtroom. The kind of silence that exposes everything. Across the room, the new hire sat quietly. She didn't want praise, didn't want to testify. She just said, I couldn't let it happen and say nothing. That was it. And it was enough. The company's lawyer fumbled. This doesn't reflect our values. Jordan cut in. But it reflects your reality. He paused. And that's what matters. The judge looked tired, not annoyed, worn, like she'd seen too many days like this. Do you deny this happened? She asked. No one answered. Not Carter. Not the man in the expensive suit. Truth didn't need help. It stood on its own. Elias didn't speak. Not yet. He didn't need to. Everything that mattered was already said. By the tape. By the silence. By the way people were now looking at him. And then looking away. A settlement was offered. Quick, quiet, large. But Jordan didn't take it. Not until one more thing was added. An apology. Public. Permanent. Named. They tried to refuse. Then they read the room. And folded. Elias stepped out into the sun. The courtroom behind him faded into noise. Cameras clicked. Questions came fast. He said nothing. Just walked past the chaos. And toward the jet he was always meant to board. Not to prove a point. To prove nothing needed proving. The glass doors slid open. Same showroom. Different silence. He stepped inside like the wind had followed him. No dirt on his boots this time. But the ground still remembered him. Heads turned. Not slowly. Not subtly. They knew. The receptionist straightened her blazer. The laughter from last time didn't echo. It evaporated. Carter stood behind the desk. Hands folded too tightly. Eyes searching for a script that no longer worked. No greeting. Just tension and shame. He didn't walk fast. Didn't raise his chin. Just moved like gravity didn't own him anymore. Someone whispered near the brochure rack. I think that's him. He heard it. Didn't flinch. They could keep their whispers. He carried proof. He stopped by the same jet. The Falcon. Still spotless. Still not his. He didn't reach for it this time. He didn't need to. Another salesman approached. New face. Clear eyes. A suit that didn't reek of ego. Sir, may I help you? The tone was clean. Measured. Careful in all the right ways. He turned. No, he said. Then looked across the showroom. To a competitor's banner. Backlit by afternoon light. He walked toward it. Each step was a closing argument. No anger. No gloating. Just clarity. The rival rep greeted him at the boundary line. Hand out. Genuine. Warm. Welcome. We've been expecting you. He nodded once. I'm here for your finest. Not just a plane. A decision. He didn't look back. But he felt the room watching. Their silence wasn't power anymore. It was consequence. Paperwork took an hour. He signed slowly. Pen steady. Breath calm. When he stood, it was done. The dream was no longer out of reach. It had a tail number. And a key. The jet's engines hummed like a heartbeat. Low. Steady. Certain. He stepped inside without hesitation. The stairs folded behind him. The cabin swallowed the noise of the world. Leather seats. Polished chrome. A silence designed for men who were never expected to arrive. He ran his hand along the stitching. Every thread felt earned. Marcus waited at the back. Pressed suit. Same fire in his eyes. You good? He asked. Elias sat down. Better than good. He looked out the window. Saw the hangar. Saw the past. Saw who he used to be and who they never saw coming. The jet taxied slowly. Out of the shadows. Into the light. No one cheered. No one clapped. But somewhere, someone watched. Maybe Carter. Maybe the ones who laughed. Maybe someone who looked like Elias and wasn't sure if they could ever try. Now they knew. He didn't take off with vengeance. He left with clarity. Not to escape. To expand. The sky widened. The earth pulled back. And the showroom became a dot below him. He didn't smile, but something in him exhaled. Freedom doesn't announce itself. It just arrives when you no longer ask permission. When the plane leveled, Marcus leaned forward. You still thinking about them? Elias shook his head. I'm thinking about the next one, the next field, the next dream, the next man waiting at the glass, wondering if he belongs. He reached for a worn photo in his wallet. His father holding a shovel, smiling like the land meant something. He set it on the table, then leaned back, let the sky hold him. He was no longer proving anything. He was becoming. What about you? What would you do? If the room said you didn't belong? If the laughter got loud? If the gate never opened? Would you walk away? Or walk through? Tell us what you think happened the moment Elias turned back. Would you have stayed silent? Would you have spoken? Comment below. Like if you felt it. Share if you've lived it. Subscribe for more stories that speak truth in a whisper, and let justice roar in silence. We'll see you in the next one.